On March 16th, 1985, Terry A. Anderson had a very bad day. He had just finished a jaunty set of tennis in the west end of Beirut and was about to head back to his hotel for a cool shower when he was ambushed by members of the Islamic Jihad organization, hastily stuffed into the trunk of a car and whisked away. Anderson, who had been merely covering the escalating civil war in Lebanon as chief Middle East correspondent for the Associated Press, had now become very much a part of it. Shortly after the abduction of Anderson, a surprising development came to light. A ransom letter dictating conditions for his safety were received at, of all places, the headquarters of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia. The jihadi, growing frustrated at the increased involvement and interference of the United States of America, had decided to wage battle by taking on the most iconic symbol of America known throughout the world, Coca-Cola. This ransom letter, which has never been made public, demanded that the original formula of Coca-Cola be altered, or Anderson would be ruthlessly killed. Many scholars in the ensuing years have posited that the Islamic militants' desire was to weaken the American spirit by tarnishing its most beloved and historied beverage. After sharing the letter with the upper echelons of the United States government and confirming its veracity, the chemists at Coca-Cola began to develop a new formula. They had little time to redevelop their flagship beverage before the blood of a U.S. citizen would be on their hands. The hands of Coke were tied. After a month of furious development and supply chain overhauls, a new recipe was developed and delivered to supermarkets the country over. Coca-Cola waited with bated breath. Their internal taste tests had determined that many people actually preferred the new flavor of Coke over that of the old. But what would the people of America at large think? On April 23, 1985, New Coke was released to the public. It was with a sigh of relief that Coca-Cola discovered that not only were the jihadis satisfied with their work and that Terry Anderson's safety was secured, but that the American people were satisfied as well. Initial sales of New Coke were strong, and impressions were positive. But in the ensuing weeks, the outlook for New Coke took a turn for the worst. Customers, no longer enraptured by the excitement of the new beverage's release, started to voice their displeasure, just as the Muslim extremists had anticipated. The American people felt betrayed. Coca-Cola was more than just a beverage. It was an icon, and for many, it was a part of their identity. Outrage grew. The company was boycotted. Bottles of the original formula were being bought by the thousand in Mexico and brought over the border, and Terry A. Anderson was still in custody. By the time July 1985 arrived, the nation was in a furor. The jihadi, now thoroughly convinced that the American spirit had been irrevocably tarnished, gave Coca-Cola permission to release the original formula of Coke alongside the new formula. They expected that by having Coca-Cola, the heart of America, appear so feeble and indecisive, would further shake the American spirit. The life of Terry Anderson was still in the hands of the militants, and they threatened to execute him if Coca-Cola ceased production of New Coke. On July 11th, 1985, just 2 days before the world united through the Live Aid concerts to offer humanitarian aid to the famine-ravaged people of Ethiopia, Coca-Cola Classic was released once again. For the time being, there would be 2 versions of Coke, and the nation would remain divided. Years passed, and the Lebanese Civil War raged on. Further hostages were abducted and released, but Terry A. Anderson remained in custody. He missed the birth of his daughter 3 months after his abduction. He missed her first words, her first steps. The years continued to pass, and Ronald Reagan, the president he had known, was succeeded by George Herbert Walker Bush. As he sat in an underground bunker in the south end of Beirut, he often wondered how long it would be before he died there, convinced that the United States government had given up on his rescue. In 1990, Coca-Cola sensed the end of the Lebanon hostage crisis. They had maintained New Coke for 5 years and had a desire to remove the terroristic blemish from their product line. A small subset of American citizens had grown fond of the beverage, though, and Coca-Cola did not wish to displease them, as they had displeased many with its initial release. In several cities, Coca-Cola silently tested changing the name of New Coke to Coke 2, to at least further the product by name from the terrible events which birthed it in 1985. Finally, after 15 long, blood-stained years, the Lebanese Civil War ended in October of 1990, but Terry Anderson remained in custody. It was not until December 4th, 1991, that Anderson was released after 2,454 days of captivity. With Anderson finally released, Coca-Cola ramped up plans to officially change the name of New Coke, but held off by request of German governmental officials who still had 2 German citizens being held by the Islamic extremists and feared that the name change may spur anger in the militants, resulting in the deaths of the poor hostages. Several months later, on June 17, 1992, the 2 Germans, the final Western hostages in the Lebanon hostage crisis, were released. The German government sent a top-secret gift basket to Coca-Cola headquarters, expressing gratitude for delaying the name change and pledged their loyalty to protect the brand in the country of Germany, particularly the Fanta arm of the brand. Indeed, the strength of Coca-Cola in Germany continued to live on. In fact, in 2012, the first of many international corporate Coca-Cola websites to be replaced with their new Coca-Cola Journey interactive digital magazine was the German corporate site. In late 1992, Coca-Cola officially changed the name of New Coke to Coke 2 as a symbolic gesture, attempting to further wash their hands clean of the unfortunate ordeal. However, Coke 2 was still sold in select dwindling markets for nearly a decade for the sake of its American fans. It was not until the terror attacks in New York City on September 11, 2001, that Coca-Cola, in a fit of patriotism and a desire to no longer be associated in any way with Middle Eastern terrorism, completely and abruptly removed Coke 2 from production. In July 2002, Coca-Cola officially announced that Coke 2 had been discontinued. No longer would Coca-Cola allow itself to be connected to the terror and bloodshed which had gripped the Middle East for decades, the same terror which held Terry A. Anderson hostage for nearly 7 terrifying years. In 2009, Coca-Cola went the final step and completely removed the classic script from all cans of Coca-Cola, leaving no remnant of the sordid history of New Coke and the terror of Islamic jihadism.